Good morning and welcome to Unfiltered Vision News, bringing you the news unfiltered Monday through Friday, 7 to 9 a.m. Eastern. My name is Dr. Ashaki Noni Nichols, and I will be your host for this morning. So, thanks everybody for joining me this morning. I've got a lot of information to give you. But I wanted to start out with just thanking everybody who has been joining me every morning, 7 to 9 a.m. Eastern, because I know it's very early. It's like, what, 4 a.m. over in California. It's early. It's 6 a.m. It's Central Time. Um, but thank you. I really, really do just want to let everybody know I totally appreciate you for joining me here. So I wanted to start out with some information that I came across regarding Pam Bondi, who is currently our Attorney General. And I know there was a little bit of pushback given to her, but everybody gets pushback. Different administrations with different senators and congressmen that get to question, who's coming in, the whole vetting process before people are actually, nominated to the position. They give them a hard time. They do. And I was like, when I saw her, I really hadn't done a lot of research on her, but I knew that she had been a part of the Trump campaign for pretty much for a while, since like 2019, somewhere where I'm there. So I was like, okay, she's been rolling with Trump for a little while. Obviously he trusts her, you know. But in recent days, come to find out, she has some connections to Pfizer. So I wanted to, share this video with you guys. And then after that, we'll go over just a little bit more in depth of who she is and why right now she's getting a lot of pushback.
Ben, that the court decision said it was. And then what does Bondi do? She goes and works with the Chemical Association to appeal that, challenge that, and undermine that. And this is happening repeatedly.
We have the suit won. We have the FDA saying taking it out. We have the head of HHS saying it. We have thousands of studies, new FDA study, indexing and all, a whole bunch of states banning it. The public wants it out, though nobody in the world even has it anymore. And then she goes in and has the inspector general say, no, we want to keep it in, and we're going to fight this and appeal this court victory. And this is the courts and the proper way with lawsuits, class action. This has all been done properly and decades of work and brain damaged children. And then she does this. I mean, it makes me really pissed off.
To your point that you were just talking about, fluoride that you mentioned before with Tim Dillon and others, you nailed it. Pam Bondi continues to undermine good efforts at other aspects of the Trump administration, not just her mishandling of the Epstein files, mishandling of other issues, the Roger Ver case, Roger Ver being still facing criminal charges and life in prison for taxes he didn't owe when he kept begging to know what taxes he supposedly owed based on a bogus crypto case brought by the Biden administration. But to the fluoride point, the great work by Robert Kennedy, great work by the Fluoride Action Network that won that suit in federal court, said fluoride needs to come out and she needs to be identified as the toxin that you identify it is, that it has been, that the court decision said it was. And then what does Bondi do? She goes and works with the Chemical Association to appeal that, challenge that, taxpayer money. In fact, turned around and it was a dangerous, ineffective, not even a vaccine, and didn't prevent COVID-19. And consequently, she brought a KTAM, a False Claims Act case, and that was dismissed because the Biden administration said vaccines are holy, they can't be challenged. They didn't dispute a single fact that we alleged. They only said vaccines are holy, can't be challenged, so that variation thereof. Well, guess what the Bondi is doing? Bondi's telling the Fifth Circuit that the Trump administration has the exact same vaccine policy as the Biden administration, even though Robert Kennedy has made it crystal clear it's exactly the opposite of the Biden administration. So we see these constant efforts by Pam Bondi and she's received $200,000 connected to a Pfizer law firm that she was working for and lobbying for just a few years ago. She's dismissed all Foreign Corrupt Practices Act claims concerning Pfizer, according to published reports. Those included the Pfizer bribing the European Union to get the COVID vaccine through the European Union.
And by the way, Barnes, I had a hunch you'd go here first. That's why I didn't even mention it, but you've been involved in these suits with Kennedy and key whistleblowers from Pfizer. we don't just want to attack Bondi and all this, but it has to be done. And Susie Wiles as well. I mean, they're both have that consultancy firm that one of their main clients is Pfizer, and they keep overriding what Kennedy's doing and what Trump promised, and it really is a major scandal. So I want you to elaborate on that and how do you think we?
And for those of you out there, you may not know, Susie Wiles is his chief of staff. So she, if you've ever seen any videos, he always tries to get her to come out and say something, and she never wants to. She literally runs from the camera. She does every single time. I won't bring up a picture of her, maybe later. But yeah, that's who Susie Wiles is, just for you guys who don't know. Oops. Did I just start it over again? I'm so sorry. Let me let's see. I'll put it right there.
We don't just want to attack Bondi and all this, but it has to be done. And Susie Wiles as well. I mean, they're both have that consultancy firm that one of their main clients is Pfizer, and they keep overriding what Kennedy's doing and what Trump promised, and it really is a major scandal. So I want you to elaborate on that and how do you think we should handle this? Because I mean, if this continues on, I'm going to have to go to war with Susie Wiles and Pam Bondi. I mean, because as you know, on the fluoride, you mentioned it, but you can elaborate. We have the suit one. We have the FDA saying taking it out. We have the head of HHS saying it. We have thousands of studies, new FDA study, indexing and all, a whole bunch of states banning it. The public wants it out, though nobody in the world even has it anymore. And then she goes in and has the inspector general say, no, we want to keep it in, and we're going to fight this and appeal this court victory. And this is the courts and the proper way with lawsuits, class action. This has all been done properly and decades of work and brain damaged children. And then she does this. I mean, it makes me really pissed off.
Absolutely. I mean, I think there's no choice about it. I mean, we got Swampy Susie Wiles as chief of staff. She placed a couple of people in Robert Kennedy's staff to be sort of minders. They helped approve a mRNA vaccine for particular groups of COVID kids. While he was on vacation, he had to come back and fire both of them. One of them apparently tried to damage his car on the way out. So, I mean, the problem, the source of a lot of the problems is, Susie Wiles is a career lobbyist. That's what she does. Goes back to the Reagan administration. Has big corporate clients, military industrial complex clients, big pharma clients, big agriculture clients. I mean, is it a coincidence we keep seeing these amnesty sanctuary policies being discussed with the Trump administration by Trump himself on immigration related to big ag? It keeps coming back to this. What do
we do about her? And again, Bondi worked for her, and they're thick as thieves, and everybody was worried about Bondi because of this connection. Now it's not. We're worried.
So on the pause this, it says AstraZeneca admits its COVID vaccine can cause rare side effects in court documents for the first time. But see, people have been screaming about this, even people that were affected by it. And everybody was like, well, you're a liar. You're wrong. Look, it's all coming out. It's all coming out. And it's unfortunate. And what, Alex and the attorney, Mr. Barnes, are talking about is the fact that we have an attorney general basically protecting these wrongs. RFK, he's trying to make sure that the COVID vaccines are removed because he knows the harms that they've caused. And we have an attorney general supporting and putting it back in. That's crazy. And they were just talking about the fluoride and how there was a court decision case saying that fluoride is poisonous, the types of fluoride that's being used. It is damaging people. But she is trying to overturn that, put that back in. Yeah, that lets you know that everybody that works with President Trump can't be trusted. They can't be. And this is the unfortunate part that happens in our political spectrum, because you think you have people there that really want to do the right thing, and they don't. They have their own personal agendas going on behind this. And we're going to get a little bit more into, who Pam Bondi is and who she's worked for in the past. But I really wanted to tee this up with the video. And I just want to thank Dr. C for reposting the stream. And she says, greetings, founder. It's Takeover Thursday. Yes. And it's also Mighty Men Thursday. And I do have someone that I'm going to highlight. And if there are any men out there who would like the mic, it is open mic. So you can definitely come on stage and share your thoughts and views. And Jay Smooth, thank you for reposting the stream. And he says, good morning, beautiful Black Americans. And Jay Smooth is actually joining us from YouTube. So let's continue on with the video.
It's proof, and God knows what else they're doing. What do we do about this?
I think we have to kind of start putting that part of the administration on blast. I think we got to expose it to the world. We got to discuss it. I know there's a lot of people who are afraid to discuss it because they don't want to have their access shut off. And you know, Swampy Susie has made that crystal clear.
Yeah, I am cutting this announcement.
They crack me up with their nicknames. Swampy Susie, really? But okay. Yeah. So for those of you who didn't catch it, they're really pointing out Pam Bondi. So let me bring that on screen here. So Pam Bondi, she was born in 1965. She's an American attorney. She's a lobbyist and politician who has served as the 87th United States Attorney General since 2025. She's a member of the Republican Party. She served as the 37th Attorney General in Florida from 2011 to 2019, and the first woman to hold office. So before we get into any of this, I just wanted to kind of see down here where she had other political affiliations. So in 2000, she was a Democrat. Then she became a Republican. Okay, so, and I know a lot of people are like, yeah, a lot of people have changed parties. They have, but it's the way you move after is what I'm really looking at and concerned about with Pam Bondi. You know, and according to the video, you know, they're even saying that she's kind of working against HHS. And why is that? You know, we thought, okay, when we voted for Trump, that we were voting for people who were going to, you know, abide by his agenda. Then why are we seeing some of this stuff? So again, this is who she is. And some people have seen her, some people haven't. That's why I brought up her picture. That's why I wanted to bring up her background, you know, who she is. And she was elected Attorney General in Florida, becoming the first woman to serve in the position. And she was reelected in 2014. So she started in 2011 and went through till 2019. She was term limited in 2018 and was succeeded by fellow Republican Ashley Moody. Oh, let's see. How do we grab a mic? I will send you a link. So that's how you can grab a mic. So I will send you a mic, Unc, in just a little bit. Yeah, so this is who she is, early life education. And the other thing I wanted to look at was something about her. Now, this was in January, and this was prior to the inauguration, right? So this was prior to her actually going through the nomination process, right? And good morning, sassy lady. She says, Dr. Nichols, keep giving us the news. Thank you so much. Okay, so it says new financial disclosures reveal AG nominee Pam Bondi represented Pfizer, raising new conflict of interest concerns about DOJ investigations. Yes, because, and Sassy Lady also says, hello, everyone. Hello to you too. So this, you know, the reason why a lot of people were concerned is because there were several allegations going on about Pfizer, against Pfizer, right? But now you've got an AG that actually worked with them. She worked for Pfizer. It was one of her clients. Oh, Jamal, thank you so much for reposting the stream. So it says new financial disclosures. And again, this was of January of this year. Disclosures filed by Attorney General nominee Pam Bondi raised major conflict of interest concerns about her relationship with drug manufacturer Pfizer, which has been involved in 5 recent Department of Justice investigations, according to Public Citizens Corporate Enforcement Tracker. So Bondi's public financial disclosure report reveals that Bondi provided legal services to Pfizer Incorporated over the last year while working as of counsel to the law firm Panza, Marr, and Maynard. Bondi reported receiving over $200,000 in income last year from Panza, Mayer, and Maynard. On the nominee questionnaire that Bondi submitted to the Senate Judiciary Committee before appearing before senators this week, Bondi stated that she has been of counsel with this firm since 2021, but Bondi did not disclose on her Senate questionnaire or during her appearance before the Senate Judiciary Committee that she had represented Pfizer, which could pose potential conflicts of interest with her position as Attorney General. Absolutely. Because if there are already, current litigation standing with the DOJ, and then you become Attorney General, what happens? Do you recuse yourself? Just saying, how can you do that? And her not disclosing that's, and this is, we're going in the past, looking at now how she's moving. I'm like, okay, now I understand why she's moving the way she's moving. Yes. And Sassy Lady, thank you for reposting the stream. And Unk says, I don't want anyone yet. I was just inquiring. Oh, okay. Thank you. Thank you for letting me know. Because look, I will send you the microphone, sir, if that's what you are requesting. But yes, that's how you get the microphone if you would like it. Just kind of let me know in the chat. You're like, hey, I'd like to, get a mic. Literally, that's what I'll see. And I will send you via direct message the link so that you can join us here live on the show. But this is very concerning. And so now I'm kind of understanding why people were very concerned about her. And it says these new revelations about Bondi's legal representation of Pfizer raise major new questions about Bondi's conflicts, said Public Citizens Democracy advocate John Gollinger. What matters did Bondi help Pfizer with? Did it have anything to do with the DOJ's investigations? And why didn't she disclose any of this to the senators in her nominee questionnaire or when she appeared before them? Because of course you should disclose everything, right? Because if there is a conflict of interest, they need to know how you're going to deal with this. Fast forward to where we are now. So in addition to disclosing her work for Pfizer, Public Financial Disclosure Report also reveals, among other resources of income, that Bondi earned over $1 million last year as a lobbyist consult for the Baylard Partners. Bondi disclosed that she represented 6 Baylard Partners clients over the last 2 years. Alden, Torch Financial, Florida's Sheriff's Association, Florida Sheriff's Risk Management Fund, Safety Net DC, Major County Sheriffs of America, Inc., and iGas USA, Public Citizens' recent report. Conflicted Justice identified 30 clients that Bondi had represented as a federal lobbyist for the Baylard Partners, including some with significant conflicts and contracts with the Department of Justice. Bondi did not list any of these relationships as potential conflicts to the Judiciary Committee. That's concerning. Because what you hiding? Because we're going to find it, and we live in the world of information. Like, here we go. And this, to me, it just makes it look bad, And it makes Donald Trump look bad in the sense that, he is very trusting of people, and he's a businessman. He trusts when people bring him information and they say they're going to do the job that they're going to do, that they're going to do it. He has enough respect for people for that. And that's, in my opinion, sometimes his Achilles heel, that the wrong people have gained his trust and not the right people. And that's really sad. So it says here, if Pam Bondi's nomination as Attorney General proceeds, We fear she will be a driven loyalist to Donald Trump and take actions that reflect the needs of the entities she so recently represented. So, Public Citizen co president Lisa Gilbert said yesterday during her testimony before Congress on Bondi's nomination, a well functioning Justice Department should be tough on corporate crime and work to improve the lives of our communities. The ability of the Attorney General to represent the interests of the American public must not be compromised. We depend on the DOJ to vigorously enforce our laws, hold corporate wrongdoers accountable, and protect the rule of law. Absolutely. Absolutely. And I also found this. Now, this is, pretty current, right? Tomorrow's going to be August 1st. This was published on July 6th, and it says Pfizer might have benefited. And this is out of the Miami Herald. And it says, for the past several years, pharmaceutical giant Pfizer has been under investigation by the U.S. Department of Justice for potential foreign corruption violations related to its activities in China and Mexico, according to the company's financial filings. But that appears to have changed after the Trump administration tapped Pam Bondi, previously an outside legal counsel for Pfizer, to lead the Justice Department as Attorney General. So you saw in that last article that I showed you guys, and of counsel, they're almost like they're contracted attorneys to a company, and they're working under whoever is the lead counsel or general counsel for that corporation. So she was kind of working under them, but she wasn't technically a part of them. It's weird. An of counsel position to me for most attorneys, they're working there to help, right? They're like assistant attorneys, but she wasn't working like for a specific division of the company, right? Again, that's why I look at it as more of a contracted service when someone is an of counsel. So, in the company's most recent annual report, filed 3 weeks after Bondi took office in early February, there was no longer any reference to the Justice Department investigations into the company's potential violation of Foreign Corrupt Practice Act. A quarterly report in May also contains no reference to these investigations. So it's like they were there before she became Attorney General, and then all of a sudden they stopped tracking it in their annual report. And they're supposed to track things like that in their annual report because they are a publicly traded company. And there may be people that don't want to invest, right? Because they're under investigation with the DOJ. They don't want to lose money, right? But they stopped putting it in their report. Very fascinating. So on her first day, Bondi rolled back the enforcement of foreign corruption cases that didn't involve drug cartels and international criminal organizations, among a host of sweeping changes she made to the department's priorities. That move was followed 5 days later on February 10th by a related executive order issued by President Donald Trump that paused new foreign corruption investigations and enforcement actions. Yeah. Oh, Sean AI, thank you so much for reposting the stream. So the Justice Department also reportedly reduced the number of attorneys working on such cases and closed nearly half of existing foreign corruption cases. Okay. So this is crazy. So Bondi's stated goal in making the changes was removing bureaucratic impediments to aggressive prosecutions. But the actions she and President Trump took were widely seen as a signal that the Justice Department would be less interested in pursuing allegations that major corporations like Pfizer paid bribes to win business abroad. That's what the corruption was. They were paying people. It's crazy. Shauna Khalid, thank you so much for reposting the stream. And he says, good morning, sister. Thank you. Good morning to you, my brother. appreciate that. Yeah, this is what we're doing. I mean, this is just sad. I don't like it. I don't like it. So Pfizer is among several companies that filed financial documents this year suggesting that the Justice Department had dropped their federal corruption investigations. The consumer advocacy group Public Citizen raised concerns about Bondi's relationship with Pfizer in a letter sent last month, sent to the Senate Judiciary Committee, and questions how she may have played a role in the department's apparent decision to drop the case. So they had him. And I think I remember Kennedy. Yeah, I was actually at that event here in Georgia. And this was before the whole Maha merger that they had. Or right when it happened, he said that Pfizer was going to be brought up on charges, right? On international charges. That they got him. And she dropped it. That's just disgusting. Because now we're going to have somebody else going behind you because they were guilty. They were guilty. They are guilty. And you're just going to let them walk? Like, the respect, I can't. I just don't have any respect for it. And it says, we would always hope that our elected officials are above reproach ethically. And a big part of that is ensuring that they don't have any conflicts of interest, said Lisa Gilbert, the group's co-president. All of this comes back to the appropriateness of Pam Bondi's conduct and whether she should be touching anything that approaches Pfizer. She shouldn't be. That's a complete conflict of interest, period. No wonder people were fighting to get you in here. Because they were like, yay, we get her in there. She's already worked for us. She'll help us get out of this. They are guilty, period. They shouldn't even no longer be in existence, period. They should be shut down for what they did. Shut down. And she's just going to let them walk. It's gross. So the Justice Department told the Miami Herald that Bondi's work for Pfizer had nothing to do with foreign corruption. Really? Her work? Oh, she didn't touch the bad stuff. She just worked for the company. Really? No. Like, literally, I've had to leave companies because I saw the writing on the wall. I was like, nope, I do not want the FBI coming to visit me. Bye. I will get another job somewhere else. And was always able to get another job somewhere else. I was like, no, absolutely not. I will not work for unscrupulous companies, period. I have better things to do with my life. Now, she decided to stay. And it wasn't like she wasn't aware of who they were, what they were doing. Stop that. Stop it. It's crazy. So Attorney General Bondi's brief work with this company occurred when she was a private citizen concerned a Florida-specific legal matter and bears no nexus whatsoever to the Department of Justice FCPA guidance. Any suggestion to the contrary is incorrect, said Justice Department spokesman Gates McCavick. Pfizer declined to comment beyond the disclosures in the company's financial filings. Look, how do you drop something that was already set up to go forward when it should still be going forward, when they're guilty? No. Then she inserted herself into something she shouldn't have been a part of, and she should have recused herself, period. So Unk says, can she be terminated by Trump? She sure can. And then Senator Khalid says, stop the cap. Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah, she can be removed. He fired some folks. He can fire the attorney general. It is a position where somebody can be nominated, right, to the position, and then they go through the different committees, Senate committees, and they go through the questioning, and then the president nominates this person. But those positions can always be changed. I want to say he fired a ton of people during his first administration. Trust me. If she makes it through the year, I will be really shocked. Seriously shocked. And I've pulled up this article as well because I just found it a little bit interesting. How it says, how tied is Pam Bondi to Scientology? What did she do for Pfizer? Now, this was written July 15th, so roughly 16 days ago. So many of President Trump's most fervent supporters are deeply frustrated by the Fed's slug-like process in cleaning up federal law enforcement and decontaminating our fascist rogue deep state. Consider that on day one of his administration, President Barack Obama both demanded and got a registration of every U.S. attorney in the country. He moved swiftly to purge conservatives from federal bureaus and fill up the ranks with permanent government and carefully vetted loyalists, many of whom are still in place, despite this being the second Trump administration. He's not wrong about that. He did that. That was sweeping. I might have to do a dive on that. But yeah, he found out who everybody was and fired everybody. Pink slip. And no one said anything. I mean, there were some conservative voices out there that were like, oh my gosh, I can't believe this is happening. It happened. He did it. And they are still in place. It's crazy. So those apparatchiks colluded with anti-Trump Republicans, including Senators Lindsey Graham and John McCain, to concoct the Russian collusion hoax that led to Trump's first fake impeachment. They also tried to imprison General Mike Flynn, among other Trump supporters they targeted. The same coalition drove the narrative that the January 6th election integrity protest hijacked by FBI infiltrators was the worst attack on America since September 11, 2001, or perhaps even Pearl Harbor. The swamp remains undrained. So I'm going to look at this more as an opinion piece. I will say, and move to alleged with some of these matters, but they're not wrong. A lot of these judges, they did go after people. They did. And these were the judges that Obama had put in place. And yes, Lindsey Graham, he's a frenemy of President Trump. When it serves him best, that's what he does. That's just who Lindsey Graham is. John McCain has since passed, and he wasn't a loyalist to Trump, and he wasn't necessarily a friend of me. I think he was on the outskirts, like, no, I don't like what this is going on, but I'm okay with this, But I don't think he was ever a never Trumper, as they got to say. So the swamp remains undrained, and many of those spooks and hacks are still prosecuting good people. For instance, the Department of Justice was hunting COVID panic hero, Dr. Kirk Moore, who helped patients evade immoral vaccine mandates until last week. It took the heroic activism of Marjorie Taylor Greene to pressure Attorney General Pam Bondi into dropping this Biden-era case. Bondi claimed she'd actually been unaware of the prosecution. Do we think the Obama or Biden team would have taken 7 months to halt a comparable Republican witch hunt? Interesting. So, however, there have been some good developments of late. In the past week, Bondi fired 20 of the worst Justice Department officials who hunted peaceful January 6th protesters and other Trump supporters, because there were some that were peaceful. They, like the people walking through the ropes and, different things like that weren't vandalizing anything, and depending on the vantage point of January 6th, some people saw people walking through velvet ropes, and other people saw people, getting pepper sprayed and going against the police and going on scaffoldings and breaking out windows. Yeah. So it depended on your vantage point. what was going on. So it says, and the other thing too is, Trump supporters don't really walk around with masks and stuff. And now they'll say now, but what about, ICE? ICE, they are covering their faces up with masks, which is actually kind of smart because people like to spit on other people and it's really gross and disgusting. But yeah, they are concealing their identities so they're not doxxed. They're doing the job. So last week someone leaked to Fox News that former CIA Director John Brennan and ex FBI Director James Comey face a criminal investigation for their lies to Congress concerning the Russia collusion hoax. Will Bondi move forward with such a prosecution? Trump supporters worried that she won't. And these deep state conspirators will just go on writing self-serving memoirs and making paid appearances on MSNBC. Even as Trump supporters imprisoned for trespassing try to rebuild their ruins of their lives. The Trump administration is continuing to dig into auto pen scandal to find out if Joe Biden actually authorized all the late night pardons White House officials granted to the likes of COVID creator Dr. Anthony Fauci. Every member of the corrupt politicized January 6th committee in the House of Representatives and a Chinese national who admitted to having 47,000 child pornography images on his computer. Yes, all of those people were their sentence. If they had a sentences, it was commuted. If they didn't, they were given a preemptive pardon. Anthony Fauci was never found guilty of anything. He was given a preemptive pardon. The January 6th committee was given a preemptive pardon. His family, he gave preemptive pardons dating back to 2014. Why would you need to give anybody a preemptive pardon dating back to 2014 and there's no litigation anywhere? Makes no sense. But that lets me know that there's been a lot of corruption. So we're going to take a quick break. And when we come back, there is some other news that we're going to get into and check out. So thank you so much for joining me here on Unfiltered Vision News. And I will see you guys. Oops, if I can get to it. And I'll see you guys on the other side.
The browsers of today are broken. They've been overtaken by a barrage of sneaky and annoying ads, trackers that follow your habits, and cookies that build profiles, and all sorts of other internet clutter that's taking precedence over the content that you want to see. In fact, these useless bytes can take up to a whopping 50% of page load times, with a third of it anxiously trying to learn more about you. To make matters worse, some ad blockers are even letting ads through when large advertisers pay them. But do you really want a leaky ad blocker? It's because of these very reasons that we developed Brave, a new browser that kicks internet crud to the curb and makes it faster, safer, and better to surf the web than your current browser. With Brave, everything you need is built right in. We integrated technology that automatically blocks trackers, annoying ads, and shields everything that can cramp your style and destruct your privacy. With it, you can expect increased speeds nearly 2 times faster on laptops and up to 4 times faster on mobile. And unlike any other browser, Brave allows you to support your favorite publishers with automatic micropayments. So it's a win-win for you and your favorite sites. To top it all off, Brave is open source because we truly believe it's our web and we need to fix it together. So ask yourself this question: do you want a web browser made for the internet of today? If so, try Brave. It's faster, safer, and ad-free.
And we are back. Thank you so much for joining us here on Unfiltered Vision News, bringing you the news unfiltered Monday through Friday, 7 to 9 a.m. Eastern. My name is Dr. Ashaki Noni Nichols. And the next story we're going to get into, it's more of, I don't want to say an alert, but it is something that we definitely need to pay attention to.
Is signaling with their actions, not necessarily their words, but with their actions, that there's a currency banking crisis right around the corner. How do we know? Because the business that they are in, foreign exchange and banking and things like that, they're scaling back or stopping altogether complex foreign currency transactions. Why? What do they see coming that they don't want to
It's
have?
what you said months ago. The carry trade's basically over.
It's over. And they see so much turbulence that they don't know which way this is going to go. Because like you said earlier, the pendulum is shifting, right? What is going to be right around the corner? Are we going to see massive bank failures, which is why Wells Fargo had to borrow $188 billion in the first quarter alone just to stave off a liquidity crisis? Are they seeing bank failures? Are they seeing a change in the money system as we know it? So they're going to say, we've got to stop some of these complex currency transactions.
There's no doubt that's coming down. You have the Oracle Omaha hoarding hundreds of billions of cash in the last 3 years. What does he see coming?
Well, you don't have billionaires selling their equities and selling the things that they have ownership in and just sitting on the sideline in cash if they thought those things were going to go up. See, I think there's a tectonic shift that's about to happen. And Christine Lagarde, she's the Jerome Powell of the European Union. She's head of the European Central Bank, says that the central banks are going to become obsolete. They are scared silly over the privatization of money via stablecoin.
Yeah.
I am cutting
this
And
right
so-
around the corner.
I wanted to bring that to you guys' attention because, we know that they just did that whole stable coin act, right? So this is definitely something we really need to pay attention to. We need to pay attention to what's happening in the financial markets and just stay abreast. So I'm not, I didn't want to play that video to be scaring you guys or terrifying you guys. I'm playing that video to make you more aware and alert. Investigate what stable coins are and what they can mean to your financial future. And also, have different options. I keep talking about gold backs. I'm trying to figure out a way for me to be an affiliate to promote gold backs, right? And make some kind of money off of it. So I have some type of sponsor for my show. But, delineate in a way, and I know we've talking about delineation, but I'm talking about financial delineation in making sure that if everything falls apart electronically, that you have another source, and some people might call it more so a portfolio, right? Where you have other options. And this is what people that have attained wealth do. They don't just have one source of income and they don't have one way to distribute that income, right? They have several different ways. They're invested in gold, they're invested in silver, they have commodities. They're living off of the interest of their investments, right? That's another income revenue stream. They might have crypto, but with this advent of the stable coin, right? Which is very similar to using something physically, but it is used electronically, right? We really need to know how to get into this part of the financial system because it is a new financial system that's being put in place. So again, just making you guys aware. And so I've got something else I need to make you aware of. You may have heard of this or you may have not.
Me, don't take another sip. So if you see at the bottom, it's marked as plant-based and a herbal supplement, and it's supposed to give you a boost in productivity and give you energy, right? It's supposed to give you a feeling of euphoria. But let's talk about what's really inside of this stuff. It has kava and kratom in it, and these are two substances that are known to numb your nervous system, and they can mess with your mood and your sleep too. Now, as some users report, they feel more productive, but they also feel a feeling of euphoria. Other users are saying it makes them feel dizzy. It makes them feel anxious, and it's highly addictive. And what they're not telling people is kratom interacts with opioid receptors. So if you're using this daily, it gives you a dependency almost like an opioid would. And people are comparing this addiction to heroin. Unfortunately, you can still find this in a lot of the gas stations here in the US. It's not FDA regulated. Kratom is actually the dangerous ingredient in this drink. It's not a classified drug, but it's listed as partially opioid. Some of the risks included for taking this is seizures, substance dependencies, and liver toxicity.
Yeah. Scary, right? And so now there's another video where I know this young lady, and I'm so grateful for that video, how she just broke it down really succinctly and quickly. There is another video that I want to show you guys that, yes, the HHS and the FDA, they are aware of these different types of products. That was just one, the Feel Free product. And I came across it in a video where they were sharing how, the addiction is very similar to an opioid addiction.
Years after cigarettes were widely used, then we started raising public health concerns. After heroin, crack, cocaine, and other street drugs became popular, about 10 years later, the medical establishment and public health community responded. 18 years after the approval of OxyContin by the FDA, we woke up to a terrible crisis that may have killed almost 1 million Americans. And then again, right afterwards, with fentanyl. We have a history of being asleep at the wheel. For the sake of our nation's children, let's not get caught flat-footed again. Public health is supposed to prevent disasters, not just clean them up after they killed thousands and thousands of people. I learned from living and working in inner-city Baltimore that you have to be proximate to a problem to understand it. We can't just talk about it on panels at medical conferences and in the ivory towers of the medical establishment. Roughly 85% of the vape products are illegal vape products. We know that because the FDA publishes a list of legal vape products, and no cutesy, fruity flavor designed to appeal to children or a video game vape product device is legal or approved by the FDA. I've been surprised that the candies and gummies and drinks and ice cream cones, here's one drink with 7-OH in it. There are other products that get added to drinks. Do we understand what 7-OH is at public health scale? Let's not get caught flat-footed again. We're not targeting the kratom leaf or ground-up kratom. We are targeting the concentrated synthetic byproduct that is an opioid. The Trump administration is deeply committed to preventing another wave of the opioid epidemic.
Okay, so we're going to get more into that. But Son of Khalid says, but they have no smoke for Reagan and how he helped push crack into our neighborhoods. He's a hypocrite. Yeah, we don't want to mention that. It's one of those things, depending on the community that it affects, that's when they, they're right out in the forefront. So I know this isn't something that's necessarily affecting, the Black community, but this is something that I at least applaud them on this one, that they're trying to get ahead of it, right? But I don't know how long kratom has been out. And it's interesting because my husband and I, we were just at the gas station the other day, and I went in there and, my husband, he was looking at this section and a lot of things were locked up. Some things weren't. And he was asking me, he goes, oh, what's this for? And I was like, oh, this is for people, if they need to clean out their system really fast, to pass the urine test or whatever. And I saw tons of kratom. I saw it with chai, with other different things. And I was like, well, what is this? And I was like, is it good? Is it safe? Because they were selling it in such, massive quantities. Like you could get almost like a 2-pound bag of this stuff. And I was like, what is this? And why is it so prevalent here? And now I'm really glad that I didn't buy any, to see it. Because, one woman she was using it to help her. Now, there is a pure form of kratom, and it can be good, but they're talking about the synthetic form. And just like anything, when it's not natural, when it's unnatural and it's synthetic, it can harm you, right? So this is what actually happened 2 days ago. So it says, watch RFK and health officials announce crackdown on kratom related products. And that's what you saw, that short video with the gentleman from the FDA. And it says here, the chemical known as 7-hydroxamate G9, and this is what they refer to as the 7-OH. So when you hear 7-OH, this is what they're talking about. It's a component of kratom, a plant native to Southeast Asia that has gained popularity in the US as an unapproved treatment for pain, anxiety, and drug dependence. Oh, thank you, Black Empower, for reposting the stream. So in recent months, the dietary supplement companies that sell kratom have been urging the Food and Drug Administration to crack down on products containing 7-OH. So there are two different things going on here. So there are people that are selling kratom that's actually good, right? But then there's the synthetic people that are selling it in combination with the 7-OH, which is the hydroxamate, and the long word that I can't pronounce. I'll admit it, I cannot pronounce that, but this hydroxymatory G9, that when you combine those, that's when it gets out of hand. And that's what they're saying, portraying it as a dangerously concentrated synthetic form of the original ingredient. Right. The FDA action is not focused on natural kratom leaf products, according to a statement Tuesday by the Department of Health and Human Services. And what they're doing is they're trying to list the 7-OH products as the narcotic, right? And separating that from kratom, which is actually okay. So I would just say to anybody out there, I'm not a doctor, but if you were to try anything and you see it has kratom on it, look at the ingredients and make sure that it doesn't have 7-OH in it. And it's not going to say 7-OH. It's going to say 7-hydroxymatrigine-9. It's going to say that. So when you see that, do not use that product, because it has the same triggering effects as the video I showed you earlier as an opioid. Like the Feel Free, don't mess with that. And there are other products, and a lot of those products you can get at a gas station. And now, me personally, I'm not going to buy health products at a gas station. I mean, there's just a lot wrong with that. Okay. In my opinion, there's a lot wrong with that. The answer is no, not doing that. Okay. Go to a health food store where you are actually buying good products. And some of them are not approved by the Food and Drug Administration, but for the most part, they're safe. Just saying. If I can, I'll probably go out and do a little bit of exploring for you guys and go to my local health food store and just see if they have kratom leaf or kratom leaf products that are natural that do not have 7-OH in it. So it says the FDA's action is focused not focused on natural, as we said before, leaf products, according to the statement Tuesday by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services. The agency said it was releasing a report to educate about the risk of 7-OH and its distinction from the kratom plant leaf. Regulators are also recommending that the ingredient be placed on the federal government's most restrictive list of illegal drugs, which includes LSD and heroin. So that is intense. And again, this is something you can get at a gas station. Now, children under the age of, I want to say it should be 21, it might be 18 or 21, they can't buy it. So this isn't something that young people can take or should be taking. And again, I know a lot of people out there, they want to, be healthy and take healthy things. 7-OH is not a healthy thing. And again, it's going to be listed with heroin and LSD. And I want us, especially in our community, to get ahead of this so we don't have an issue. So 7-OH is an opioid that can be more potent than morphine, said FDA Commissioner Marty McCary, and that's the gentleman that you saw speaking in that video. We need regulation and public education to prevent another wave of the opioid epidemic. Absolutely. And I find it so sad because we keep going through this up and down, especially with opioids, right? He mentioned there's a longer video that's actually here in this link, right? And it's like 39 minutes. I was like, I'm not playing a whole 39-minute video. I'm not going to do that to you guys. But with the opioid epidemic that's going on, we need to be more conscious and aware of it. And it's going on in our gas stations and the convenience stores. And here's the thing. A lot of these convenience stores and gas stations, some of them, I mean, I'm not saying that all of them, but a lot of them are in low income areas, and sometimes people are looking for a pick me up and they may see kratom and they may look up kratom, but they don't know about the 7-OH, right? And combining those two in that synthetic way, take this and then don't understand why they're addicted to this, don't understand why they're like, oh, I've got to have this. So, that is something, like I said, and especially in the Black communities, in low income areas, we need to, put the alert out to people. Do not take these because this is what's going to happen. They're already out there. The products have been out there for a few years. And what I had found out, because I was looking at this, and Unc says, are the gas stations held to the same regulations as the pharmaceutical stores? No, they're not. They're not. There's tons of stuff. Like, just go to a random gas station and then look at all the stuff that sometimes they have in cases, and you will see different types of drinks that'll say, you'll be clean in an hour. Okay, we know what that's about. And other ones, if they're really high energy, or they're different types of supplements that they can have out there, because all they have to do is put on the label. It says this isn't approved by the FDA. And as long as they put that out there, they can put their product out there until, I'm just saying, and this is unfortunate, until it starts really damaging people and it starts killing people and people make a fuss about it. They're like, hey, people are dying out here from this. You need to shut this down. Then they'll have it shut down. But that doesn't necessarily mean that they remove the products. This is the problem with the FDA. See, I've seen the documents that they do, even for other types of medical instruments. There was a particular company that was being sued. And I, did some of the documentation on it and was dealing with different, oh gosh, it's slipping me right now, depositions, sorry. And I would read through the depositions. Okay. So I'm going through this and I'm like, wow, these things are causing people harm. And well, the company, they sent a letter to the FDA saying, yeah, we're kind of sorry. We know that some of these things are happening. But what we can do is we can fix it, right? We can fix the problem and then, try to get as much of the bad stuff off, out of circulation as we can. And then the FDA goes, okay, that's great. And that's it. There's no follow-up. There's no oversight to make sure that this stuff is actually being removed off of the market. It's just a letter and a promise. That's it. And they will let them continue to do this. And that particular medical device, it actually made its way to the Supreme Court for a decision against that company. I'm not going to mention the device, but I'm just saying it happened. And I saw the paperwork, how it happens. So the FDA has needed a lot of cleaning up for a long, long time. So Black Flag says, wishing you a great day, Black America. Thank you so much, Black Flag. And Son of Khalid says, it's a disclaimer they use to try to protect themselves from a lawsuit. Absolutely. But in this case, because now they've turned it into, a class one, I think they call it a class one narcotic. I wonder what that's going to look like for a lot of these different companies, right? That's using the product in that way, but also for a lot of these vendors and, people putting it on the shelves because they may not know. And that's why they have to go on this massive campaign because if somebody's harmed or damaged by it, now they, lawsuit, yeah, it does give them the indemnity. Hopefully, I'm saying that right from a lawsuit, but they're gonna have to remove a lot of this stuff from the shelves to protect people. So I pulled this up on it because I said, look, what is the Feel Free Kratom product? And it says it's a product called Feel Free with Kratom. It's a plant-based tonic that combines kratom and kava, marketed as a wellness drink. It is available in various forms, including a 2-ounce bottle and a 57 millimeter tonic. The product contains ingredients such as kava root extract, kratom leaf, and it's described as a natural supplement for relaxation and energy. The company, Botanic Tonics, markets the product as safe and healthy alternative to alcohol. However, there have been reports of addiction and concerns about its potency, leading to a class action lawsuit against the company. The product is also available for purchase in various online platforms, including GoPuff and 710 Pipes, with prices ranging from $6.40 to $12.99. So I did say, is there a lawsuit? And it says, feel free. The plant-based beverage containing marketing as alcohol-free focused and labeling. They've got a class action lawsuit. Botanic Tonics is in Santa Monica, and they're facing a class action lawsuit for allegedly misleading consumers by marketing the drink as a kava-based product while consuming that kratom is the primary ingredient despite its addictive properties and opioid-like effects. So depending on if it's natural or synthetic with the kratom, that determines that opioid trigger. So Romulo Torres, a recovering alcoholic and plaintiff of the 2023 action lawsuit against Botanic Tonics, alleging he became addicted to Feel Free after targeted ads failed to disclose the risk of kratom, leading to severe health issues, hospitalizations, job loss, and relapse into addiction. Kratom, a substance derived from Southeast Asia, classified by the FDA as having opioid-like properties and potential for addiction, which is a key ingredient in Feel Free and central to the lawsuit due to its alleged role in causing dependency and withdrawal symptoms. So it's not just the kratom, like I told you guys before, it's this 7-hydroxynate. That combined with the kratom, that's what's giving that effect, that opioid effect. So the class action lawsuit filed in 2023 in the U.S. District Court of Northern District of California. The lawsuit accuses Botanic Tonics and 7-Eleven of false advertising, failing to disclose kratom's risk and targeting vulnerable populations, including recovering addicts and college students, with claims that the drink is a safe alcohol alternative. The suit remains ongoing, with the company stating the product is safe and labeling now includes kratom as an ingredient. So it didn't have kratom on there before, but it does have the 7-hydroxynate. Saying, is the FDA against the product? The FDA has not issued any specific warning solely to feel-free drink, but it has repeatedly warned against the use of its key ingredients, kratom and kava, due to the serious health risks. On July 30th, Botanic Tonics, the maker of Feel-Free, stated that the FDA is not targeting natural kratom leaf products like its Feel-Free Classic, distinguishing them from synthetic 7-OH extracts. And that's what I was just talking about. So, however, the FDA has long maintained that kratom, an opioid-like substance in the drink, possesses risk of addiction, abuse, dependence, liver toxicity, seizures, and substance use disorder, and has previously warned that kava-containing supplements may be linked to severe liver injury, including hepatitis, cirrhosis, and liver failure. So, yeah. So kratom, I'm just saying, y'all, when you see it, like I said, I went to a store and I was like, oh my gosh, I have seen this stuff everywhere, and like I said, it was at a gas station, but I didn't know what it was, but it kind of tripped me out because I was like, there was this whole section dedicated to it, pills, powders, all kind of stuff. And I was like, this is weird, you know, but that's what it is. And Feel-Free drink, despite FDA warnings about its ingredients, the product is sold widely in convenience stores like 7-Eleven and gas stations, often near the register, leading to concerns about accessibility and misleading marketing. A settled class action lawsuit alleged Botanic Tonics and 7-Eleven failed to adequately disclose the risk of kratom, falsely advertising the drink as more addictive than caffeine or sugar, and targeted vulnerable populations such as those in recovery from addiction. So there were people that were like, okay, well, I can use this in place of this and it'll help wean me off. But it was even worse than what they were trying to get away from. And that's truly, truly, truly sad. Yeah, and we've already gone over the announcement, but there's advocacy groups now. The Global Kratom Coalition and other botanical health groups have praised HHS for a decision, emphasizing the importance of protecting public health while preserving access to natural kratom. So natural kratom is okay. Like I said, there's a difference between the natural and the synthetic. And that's what was happening. And that's what they're trying to determine and get people away from. So I really respect the fact that, they are doing better, right? And like the gentleman said, it's like, we don't want to be 10 or 15 years behind this. We want to be ahead of it, right? Always grateful when they're trying to be ahead and not behind. So we're going to take a quick break. And when we come back, I'm going to highlight somebody for Mighty Men Thursday. There was a video that I came across yesterday that I want to share with you guys. And the person that's in it, I think he's definitely a mighty man. And again, I just want to highlight what he's doing out here in our community. I'll see you guys on the other side. And we're back. Thank you so much for joining us here on Unfiltered Vision News, bringing you the news unfiltered, 7 to 9 a.m. Eastern. My name is Dr. Ashaki Noni Nichols, and I will be your host. And Patty Cakes, thank you so much for reposting the stream. And I wanted to just share some comments here that Shamashan had. She goes, we don't know what's in our food. And it is unfortunate. And she says, wake up, America. Yeah, it is definitely time for that. Again, I'm grateful that I'm blessed. Finesse, thank you so much for reposting the stream. Appreciate you. That I'm glad that the HHS and the FDA are looking into what they're looking into. And let's just remember, HHS is over the FDA. So I am glad that Robert Kennedy Jr., that he is over the HHS. He is somebody that definitely believes in health. I've actually had the opportunity to meet him in person. He's really nice, and he's very passionate about what we're eating and what's in our food. And he's had, some victories, I want to say, and changes that he's made, like with Steak and Shake. They have the tallow fries where they're actually using beef tallow for their fries. So I encourage you guys to check out Steak and Shake. And a lot of people don't know that, right? Because it was one of those blurbs. It was like blurb, and we're moving on. But he is definitely trying. He's, I think one of the next phases they're working on is to get the dyes out of the food and get the chemicals out of our food supply, like fluoride, right? We're still fighting that fight, but I'm glad that he is definitely there fighting that fight for us. And Seamus Shin said, yes, he does. He truly, truly does. And so we're going to get into this next story. And this is somebody that I actually wanted to highlight for Mighty Men Thursday. And we are back. And so the gentleman that I wanted to highlight, his name is Rich Stoglin. And some of you may or may have not seen this video. It's been making its rounds on X, but I just wanted to give this gentleman the platform for Mighty Men Thursday.
Stoglin, so you're registered to testify on behalf of yourself on the revised congressional redistricting plan. Is that correct, sir?
I'm here to represent the Frederick Douglass Republicans of Tarrant County.
Let me, do I have permission to change your
Yes, sir,
registration
you
to
do.
say? And what was
do.
that again?
The Frederick Douglass Republicans of Tarrant County. I'm the president.
Frederick Douglass Republicans of Tarrant County.
And I am the president.
The gallery will come to order. Please give us your testimony, sir.
My name is Chaplain Rich Stoglin. I'm a native Texan, currently residing in Arlington, Texas, and I'm the president of the Frederick Douglass Republicans of Tarrant County. The renowned economist Dr. Thomas Sowell stated, one of the sad signs of our times is that we have demonized those who produce, subsidized those who refuse to produce, and canonized those who complain. While the founder of the Frederick Douglass Republicans of Tarrant County, the late Honorable Reby Carey, stated to black and brown Americans, be an informed, intelligent voter. Make your vote count. Remember, freedom isn't free. Someone has to pay the price. Historically, Texas has elected 40 Democrats, 1 independent, 1 unionist, and 6 Republican governors. We must read and evaluate the prosperity of our great state under each party. On 4 through 6, 1867 in Houston, Texas, the Republican Party of Texas was created by 150 colored men and 20 white men. They did this in the name of justice then, and we're requesting redistricting in the name of justice now. I echo their clarion call to have Republican leadership in the great state of Texas. As a black American, Afghanistan veteran, a retired department head of the U.S. Department of Justice, I strongly support the Republican redistricting. I do not want, nor does the great state of Texas or this magnificent nation deserve to continue.
Gentlemen will yield. The gentleman will be accorded the same respect that everyone testifying receives. We will come to order. Everyone, regardless of your belief, political persuasion, or age, or whoever you are an American, and you're entitled to be heard, and you will be heard in this committee. The audience will come to order. The gentleman is recognized to continue his testimony.
I do not want the great state of Texas or this magnificent nation deserve to continue seeing systemic gang and street violence, a plummeting educational system, communities deteriorating, men and women's sports, etc., while Democrats sit quietly and fall to condemn or acknowledge the systemic moral decay, screaming systemic racism for anything that does not fit their narrative. These acts of evil must stop. We need Republican leadership for such a time as this. Republicans have a larger story. Echoing the words of the American icon, Mr. Frederick Douglass, you will not be judged by the heights you have risen, but from the depths you have climbed. I am a Republican, a black dyed-in-the-wool Republican, and I never intend to belong to any other party but the party of freedom and progress, Frederick Douglass. We need and must have increased Republican leadership in the great state of Texas to remain great. As president of the Frederick Douglass Republicans of Tarrant County, I stand behind this statement. Simplified.
Thank you for your testimony.
Any questions for me?
Members, any questions for this witness?
And Mr. Chairman,
Yield. Hey, this is America. We hear from everyone, whether we agree with them or not. And the audience will come to order and extend the common courtesy of hearing every witness, regardless of their political persuasion. Now, with that basis, Mr. Manuel, for what purpose?
To ask the gentleman a question.
The gentleman yield for questions. Gentleman, Mr. Manuel's recognized question witness.
You made a statement when you were speaking, and I just want to kind of get the understanding of it. So you don't think that redlining in communities throughout the nation had anything to do with the decay that happened with communities as they were rising and as they were trying to form? If you all could not, it would because we need to move.
let me answer your question, sir. The Democratic...
The gentleman will yield.
The Democratic Party created that redlining.
Gentlemen will yield for one moment. Just so it's clear, questions only come from the dais. It's just in order for this process. So if the gentleman would be happy to answer Mr. Manuel's question,
sure.
Continue.
The Democratic Party created the redlining just like they created the Jim Crow laws, the hanging, all that was the Democratic Party.
Okay.
Sir.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I wanted you guys to see that because that he laid out the history, and, I can assume that the gentleman in the red suit, was not a Republican who asked that question, because that's usually the fallback of the Democratic Party. It's like, oh, everybody else is racist, not us, even though they put in like racist policies and policies that unfortunately, as we've seen, destroy people's lives. I don't think that's really the intent of all Democrats, but it's the way the party's moving. So it's kind of like, I don't know what to say for you guys in that respect, but I'm so appreciative of Mr. Stoglin. Hopefully I'm pronouncing his name right, Stoglin. Yeah. And just his passion to stand up, right? And his patience, right? To not get upset. And it was interesting how he was continuously interrupted. And the very people there that cry out, "You're racist. Why are you yelling down this black man when he's making a statement? Whether you agree with it or not, why are you yelling him down? When you're the very people sitting back there going, we don't want racism, but why are you acting out?" It is very crazy to me. Very downtown crazy for me. Let's see. And Shamashin says, thanks for sharing. And she says, the party has done a lot of harm. Yeah. And there has been harm on both sides, if we're quite honest about that. Now, there is one more video that I would like to share of Mr. Stoglin so we can get just a little bit a different perspective of who he is and what he's actually doing in his community in Texas.
A quorum is present. The House and gallery, please rise for the invocation, which will be offered by Chaplain Richard Stoglin from Stoglin Group, Director of Community Engagement for ADFW in Arlington, sponsored by the Honorable David Cook of Tarrant County.
It is an honor to be here and stand in front of the 150 members of the great state of Texas legislative session. My thanks goes to Texas Speaker Justin Burrows and Texas State Representative, the Honorable David Cook of District 96, my Texas representative sponsor as chaplain of the day. Second, a word on my stole, of which you see me wearing. I was the command chaplain of 39 nations of the world, number 2 on the enemy snipers list for 330 days in Afghanistan. Boots on the ground. With that, let us pray. Divine Parent, we pause to give you thanks for this day. Help each of the legislators assembled in this hallowed room to be guardians of a sacred opportunity for the greater good of the great state of Texas. Therefore, disallow them, God, from inviting their nerves of faith to be crushed when the bones of courage requires an effective witness to preclude the tentacles of evil and systemic hypocrisy from overtaking them. God, remind each Texas state representative during this 89th legislative session here in this hallowed chamber that the echoes of expectations are as historical then as the voices of the prophets and challenges are now. Let them not delete what Mordecai said to Esther in their critical, decisive matters. You have been called for such a time as this. What then is your explanation of righteousness that unashamedly states right from wrong and goodness from evil, thereby declaring in the words of Frederick Douglass, you will not be judged by the heights you have risen, but from the depths you have climbed. And as he further warns us all against the liquidity of ignorance by stating, it is easier to build strong children than to repair broken men. God, help each legislature and staff here in these hallowed chambers. Tomorrow's consequences are based on today's decisions, making the words of Edmund Spencer an embraceable opportunity when truth is stronger than fiction. Then he states, thankfulness is the tune of angels. So we pray for those who act as responsible guardians of our local communities, even when the duties they perform are not always acknowledged or appreciated. And lest we forget, those who are in harm's way a long ways from home. We pray for those who streak across the turbulent skies, move underneath the forceful oceans, march on the hot, sandy desert floors, and survive in the dense jungles of the world. Be with them, God. Be with their families as they look through the windows of anticipation of their loved one's safe return home. Help them and us to remember, no matter what, hope is our strongest weapon. To God be the glory. In the name of the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. Amen.
Amen.
Yeah. And that is just amazing, just to see him pray, right, and give that benediction. And, repeating the same words that he did in his speech. Well, I wouldn't say speech, but in his stance in that meeting where people were, yelling and shouting out against him. He stood his ground, and I'm really grateful for his heart. And again, we're just appreciating Mr. Rich Stoglin here on Unfiltered Vision News for Mighty Men Thursday. And Shamashin wanted to add, actions do speak louder than words. April Showers, thank you so much for reposting the stream. And Dr. C says people say one thing and do another. They do. They do. But I'm glad that this gentleman, as you can see from the two videos that I've played of him speaking, he's consistent. And that is something to definitely be applauded. And if you want to find out more about the Frederick Douglass Republicans of Tarrant County, here is their website. It is Frederick Douglass Republicans of Tarrant County.org. And I'll make sure to add this link to the stream. And so thank you so much for joining us here on Unfiltered Vision News. We're going to take a quick break and we're going to get into some more of the news on the other side.
At All Sides, we believe unbiased news doesn't exist. To get more clicks and make more money, media outlets often report news with a left, right, or sensational slant, either to suit their own agenda or because by telling us what we want to hear, we'll come back for more. Several news outlets in the center do a good job of portraying both sides equitably, but for the most part, American news media is biased. Bias isn't necessarily a bad thing. The key is to get multiple perspectives. But making matters worse, social media and internet search results are heavily filtered, showing us the most popular opinion or results that match our preferences and make us happy. That means we're all living in filter bubbles, where we're only exposed to viewpoints we already agree with, making us less informed and less tolerant of different people and ideas. At All Sides, we give bias ratings for hundreds of media outlets. By freeing people from filter bubbles and providing different perspectives, we can all be better equipped to understand the world and each other. So how do we do it? All Sides has created a patented, fair, transparent process to rate the media bias of hundreds of news outlets and writers. We assess each media source and rate them as far left, center, lean right, or far right, allowing you to quickly identify different perspectives. All Sides is constantly evolving our media bias engine. The more you participate, the better our ratings will be, and the better our news coverage will be. Go to allsides.com to get involved.
And we are back. Thank you so much for joining us here on Unfiltered Vision News, bringing you the news unfiltered, 7 to 9 a.m. Eastern. My name is Dr. Ashaki Noni Nichols. In our last segment, we did Mighty Men Thursday, and we were recognizing Mr. Rich Stoglin. And he is in the county of Tarrant, Texas, and he's the president of the Frederick Douglass Tarrant County Republicans in that area. So I just, like I said, I wanted to bring him up because, he's standing 10 toes down for freedom, right? However you see freedom. And like I said, it makes me laugh because the very people that were shouting him down are the very people that scream, people are racist. And I'm like, why are you shouting this man down? You're shouting him down because you don't like the Republican Party. And then he had to explain, it was the Democrats that came up with the redlining. And they're still carrying it out today. And they don't see it as anything racist. It's very fascinating to me. So we're going to get into the next story. A Virginia councilman was set on fire in targeted workplace attack. Like, this is just getting crazy. Like, we're getting people set on fire. You had that other gentleman the other day. He walked into the NFL office. He was claiming that he had suffered a brain injury, and he walked in and he shot people. And people are actually applauding that he ended up killing, like, I guess, a CEO of one of the companies. And I'm like, what is wrong with us? Truly, what is wrong with the world? It is a spirit, and it's truly, truly demonic. So Virginia councilman set on fire in targeted workplace attack. Virginia councilman Lee Bulger, he's 38, was set on fire at his workplace on Wednesday in what police say was a targeted personal attack. So for the details, the suspect, Shasti Michael Buck Hayes, 29, entered the building of Showcase Magazine, a local monthly publication, and dumped a 5-gallon bucket of gasoline on Vogler before setting him on fire. Hayes fled the scene but was arrested nearby. He was charged with attempted first-degree murder and aggravated malicious wounding. Authorities said the attack was unrelated to Vogler's politics or work as a councilman. His current condition is unknown. So for context, Vogler was elected to Danville City Council in May of 2012, becoming the youngest person ever elected to that position at age 24. He is a managing partner at the Andrew Brooks Media Group, a marketing firm that publishes several regional magazines and operates a branded merchandise website and a music publishing company. Following the attack, Google searches for Vogler's political affiliation increased despite officials citing a lack of political motivation. So this is how the media covered it. Newsweek detailed the assault and quoted Republican lawmakers and groups in Virginia who condemned the attack. The Associated Press, left, and the New York Post, that leans right, both contextualized the attack in recent political motivated attacks on officials across the country, with New York Post saying it's the latest in the disturbing wave of violence targeting elected officials, including President Trump. And PBS, that leans left, quoted both Republican and Democrat lawmakers in Virginia who condemned the attack and sent well wishes to Vogler. This is crazy. We're setting people up for what? Who does that? And, I'm going to say it truthfully. We really haven't seen this much violence since there's been some people on the soil that don't belong here. I'm just saying. I'm just saying. We can only use the excuse of medications that have gone awry. So, you know what I mean? We can only use that excuse for so long. Now, new reports claim no missing minute in the Epstein jail video. Now, I don't know if anybody's been following this, but Pam Bondi actually stated, she was like, yeah, there's a missing minute and it's been happening for months or whatever the excuse she was given, and that she, regurgitated. So now a new report claims there's no missing minute. So what happened? Because 60 seconds is a long time. So, new reports from CBS News that leans left bias suggested the missing minute in surveillance footage from registered sex offender Jeffrey Epstein's jail cell prior to his death may exist. Okay, well, if it does, let's get it. We've already put the missing one out there. Let's get it. Let's find out what really happened. So, for details, Attorney General Pam Bondi attributed the video gap to a nightly system reset, while a government source said the FBI, Bureau of Prisons, and Department of Justice Inspector General all possess a complete version of the footage without the missing minute. Okay. So, what are we doing? Forensic analysis, including Jim Stafford, told CBS that the metadata showed the released footage was two separate videos spliced together and sped up slightly, despite the FBI saying it was the raw footage. So Epstein committed suicide in his jail cell in 2019. His death sparked controversy and conspiracy theories given his connections to high-profile individuals. In July, the FBI DOJ released the nearly 11 hours of footage from the night before Epstein's death to quell some of these rumors. A 1-minute gap just before midnight sparked controversy over the official suicide ruling and fueled further suspicion or speculation. How the media covered it. CBS first shared the report. It questioned why the FBI released footage was missing a minute and quoted video forensics professionals who said nightly resets are abnormal and not something they'd experienced with most video systems. The Daily Mail highlighted ongoing public skepticism and also noted that the footage released as raw was incomplete. It mentioned that Epstein's client list was also recently debunked. Straight Arrow News included that 6 in 10 Americans disapprove of how President Trump is handling the Epstein case, and that 44% believe Epstein was murdered. I think there were a lot of people were like, yeah, he didn't suicide himself. That's always been with or without the tape. But the tape made it suspicious because I was like, okay. Now, if this is something that they've always had and it's been for decades and they've just never fixed the footage, I don't know why. Okay. Was this a one-off? And if it was a one-off, why then? So, it's interesting because with the whole Epstein scene, like I keep saying, what do people want? Here's my thing. Okay. You keep saying it doesn't have a client list, but they do have a flight log. So that's a list of people that went there. So they don't necessarily have to be clients, but they're on the flight log. So they went there. We know Donald Trump is on the flight log. President Donald Trump, we know he's on the flight log. We know Obama is on the flight log. We know that Clinton was on the flight log. We know that there are a lot of high-profile people on the flight log. But does that necessarily make them clients? When you say client, what do you mean? That's the part, because he had parties on the island. Okay, how are you going to be a client of somebody that's having parties? Or was he supplying? See, when you're a client, you're supplying a service. So what is the service? Right? What are we talking about? What are we doing? What are you trying to really say? I need people just to say it outside. And Shay Michelle says, Beyonce, yep. Jay-Z and Beyonce, they were also on that flight log. There were a lot of people on that flight log that you were like, whoa, you went to that? You went over there too? What was you doing over there? Well, now that we know what was going on, well, why were you there? And then the case of Beyonce and Jay-Z, and somebody brought this up on a podcast that I was watching. They said they might have been entertainment, right? Because a lot of times these people want to entertain their friends and they use people like that. She said, hey, Z. You meant Jay-Z. But yeah. And those people are there for entertainment. I think Chris Tucker was over there. Again, he's an entertainer. Was he, the entertainment for that night? He could have been like, hey, you guys come over. We're having a party. And Chris Tucker is going to be, the comedian for tonight. But does that mean that he was involved in anything else going on the island? No, we don't know that. And I think that's what people want to know. But again, at the end of all this, is anybody going to get arrested? Is anybody going to go to prison for, messing with these young women? Because they've already admitted to who's messed with them. But those people haven't been sentenced or going to jail. If we're not going to put anybody to jail behind this, if this is not going to change anything, what are we doing? And Seamus Shun says entertainment clients. Yeah, most definitely. Entertainment clients. I mean, what are we doing if we're not bringing these people up on charges? And now we're going to transition, and I saved this part of the show because I really want to make sure that I do it justice and highlight this person. And this is very unfortunate what has happened to someone in our community. Now, a lot of people may not know what is going on, but there's a gentleman by the name of Tamion Keenan. So, according to news reports from April 2025, a man named Tamion Keenan, 34, was found dead in his cell at the Fort Bend County Jail in Texas. He had been arrested 2 days prior for a charge of aggravated assault with a deadly weapon. Keenan was alone in his cell. See, let me make this a little bit bigger for you guys. Sorry. He was alone in his cell at his time of death, and the cause of death is currently under investigation by the Fort Bend County District Attorney's Office and Texas Rangers. Now, I had just found out about this yesterday. And it was brought to my attention, so I definitely wanted to highlight what was going on here in Texas. And this isn't the only time that somebody has been found unalived in their cell. I think this happened in Alabama too. But what I was trying to find, and what was also brought up, is the family wasn't informed that he had passed away, and they harvested his organs. Now, this has been something that they've actually brought this to the attention, I want to say, of the Attorney General and to HHS, that during COVID in hospitals, they were killing people. They were unaliving them, and they were harvesting their organs right before they died. So, how they were, putting people on respirators, and they were putting healthy people on respirators, and they were harvesting their organs. Yeah, it's crazy. So even here in this report, it says the cause of death is still under investigation. Friday, Keenan was arrested on April 1st on a charge of aggravated assault with a deadly weapon. Last year, the Fort Bend Sheriff's Office reported 2 in-custody deaths. So even before he was taken to this particular jail, they've been killing people. They've been unaliving people in this particular jail. And this is so sad. It says in July, law enforcement officers arrested 44-year-old Pablo Mendero on a disorderly conduct charge. He was initially cleared by medics at the scene and taken to the Fort Bend County Jail, according to the report filed in Texas Attorney General's. Prior to booking, he began experiencing medical issues and was taken to a local hospital where he was pronounced dead. An autopsy determined Madero died from a drug overdose, according to the report filed with the Attorney General's office. Well, the crazy part is, and about these, is they're harvesting these people's organs, allegedly. Okay. And they're telling the families after the fact. Now, Taman's mother, I didn't meet her in person, but I did meet her in a space yesterday. She is going through trying to retain an attorney so that they can investigate and find out what's going on with her son, how he passed away, and why they just harvested his organs without reaching out to the family first, without informing the family. And also, when we see this article, there was more to it. It was actually a situation where he was having a mental episode and the police were called, and that's how they dealt with it, by taking him to jail. And, when people talk about defunding the police and people get so upset about it, I don't think defunding the police is the answer. I think proper community policing is the answer. Because right now we have individuals that are said to protect and serve, but do they even know the people that they're protecting and serving? And do those people know the police officers, right? And are we really training police officers to be, borderline psychologists and understand the difference between somebody having a mental breakdown and somebody being violent, and actually understanding what's happening, right? And April Shower says there was no assault either, right? So this person didn't try to fight the police. They appeared violent, right? When somebody's yelling and screaming, again, they're having a mental breakdown. There should be a special division of the police. And I think there are some police departments working on that from around the country to learn how to de-escalate before they just go straight to, I'm going to shoot this person, I'm going to arrest this person, I'm going to, take the situation in another direction that's not beneficial for anyone. Because if he was having a mental breakdown, he should have been taken to a hospital and put on a 5150 hold to make sure that he was mentally stable, or just to find out what was wrong. Why was he so upset? He may have been on medication. We don't know. There's so many answers to these things, but to know that this young man passed away in 2 days in his cell, he was alone in his cell, just that, how did he pass? And then his organs were harvested. What is really going on? And their family wasn't notified. So this is something that we really need to have investigated. And so I'll make sure when I repost this, that I repost a link where you can, if you can help financially, or if you know of any attorneys that would be willing to take this case on, because the family does want this investigated, and this will be dropped if not. This is in Texas. So, Senator Ted Cruz, I need you on this. I'm not sure what other individuals in Texas. I know Jasmine Crockett's there. This is one of those situations where, okay, where is Jasmine Crockett on this? If this happened in Texas, why aren't you talking about this? Why aren't you saying what happened to this young man and championing the cause, since you have the platform? That's all I'm saying. Yeah, there are things that we don't agree on in politics, but this is something that we can agree on should never be happening to anyone. And that's what needs to happen and change. So with that, thank you guys so much for joining me here on Unfiltered Vision News for this Mighty Men Thursday. And let me see if I have any more comments that have come in. that comment's a little bit out of context, so I'm gonna leave it there. Sorry it took me so long to respond to that. But Shamishon says, I see those trucks in New York City. So I'm not sure. Oh, the trucks. Okay, you were probably referring to what we were speaking about in regards to the Epstein files. But yeah, I just want to make sure that we are bringing this particular event to light so that other people that have the ability to help can help. I'm helping as much as I can with my platform to bring it to life. So if anybody's here on X or YouTube or Facebook that may know of any attorneys in Texas that can help the family, please reach out. And again, like I said, when I repost this, I'll make sure to repost this segment for you guys. And, definitely with that SOS. And April Shower says his mother is coming to Good Morning Black America. So good. Thank you so much for that, April. So we can talk to her more and find out just how we can help her as a community. And this needs to be something that we do for one another. I mean, it's one of those things, you got to be your own best friend. You just do. Yeah. And Shamashin says, what happens to one person happens to us all. It does. It does. So thank you so much for joining me here on Unfiltered Vision News. And remember, stay well, stay focused, and stay unfiltered. We'll see you on the next one.